Hi, my name is Martin. I'm a technical driver coach specializing in open formula. In this video, I'm going to run you through the sprint race and main qualifying here in Qatar. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're going well. We're going to go in chronological order. We'll start with the sprint race and we'll talk about main qualifying as well. And just if I can skip a few steps ahead, I think Lando's under a lot of pressure in this race. Big race coming up tomorrow, particularly the start. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. Okay, so updates just before the sprint race. Pirelli bumped the PSI up +1 on the fronts. I think it went from minimum 28 PSI up to minimum 29 PSI. Because they saw some scratches from the tires that when the drivers were going off the track, running over the gravel, their tires are getting a lot of scratches on them. They felt the need to bump it up +1. I don't know. That story doesn't stack up to me. Just as I say it out loud now, it seems like any opportunity they get to increase the pressure, they do. 28 is high and 29 is high and very high. So we're still going to have the same problems, I think, during the race. And I think there's just, in a way, I just feel like it's ruined the racing a bit, because to follow in dirty air, like I'll talk about it in a sec with the sprint, but like the tires are already so highly pumped up, and then they're just going to overheat them with the dirty air and the front end. Like particularly with Max, he just couldn't follow Lando in the sprint. So it was like, I get it from a structural point of view, but it's very easy to overheat the front tires is what I'm saying. Hamilton with the pit lane start. Presumably they trimmed out that wing that we spoke about yesterday and they backed that out. I'll have to double check and confirm that. I'll have to listen to Lewis. I've only just come off watching the sessions. But he comes over the radio at the end of the race and says, I don't know how we made the car worse. So it kind of makes sense to me, because when you trim the wing back out, it's going to feel worse, but it should in theory be quicker overall in the lap, because like I say, there's a lot of full throttle time out there. That being said, the Ferrari is a dog of a car this weekend in the hands of Charles, and we'll get onto it in qualifying. Like every issue under the sun, mid-corner snaps, rear locking and braking, traction issues. Even Brundle was standing out at the hairpin at turn 6 and said, yeah, the Ferrari just won't drive out of the corner with good traction. So there's a bunch of issues. And if I pointed my lens at Lewis yesterday, it's also the whole thing. The team's terrible. The race operations is terrible. The car's terrible. Lewis is not driving the best either. And it's just, that's where we are with Ferrari at the moment. So, yeah, like I say, it'd be interesting to hear from him what changes he made pre-sprint. I think he trimmed the wing back out, and then what changes he made pre-quali. Okay, let's talk about the start. It was a fairly straightforward start with Oscar on the pole. There was no defensive posture from Oscar, and as I'm just thinking about it, I feel like there should be one, but a difference in how aggressive. So if I can just give you guys a bit of a philosophy. My philosophy is you preset your car, angle it across to the inside and shoot to the inside as quickly as possible. I think that needs to be very aggressive on tracks where you don't have a long run down to turn 1. So Brazil would be a good example of that. The one we saw last time in Vegas would be a good example of that. Like, you can afford to forego forward direction for a sharp, aggressive angle and cut to the inside. And that's what cost Lando the lead in Vegas. I think with this one in Qatar, given that it's so long, you don't want to heavily angle your car across and get to the inside ASAP, because the car, P2 car, if it does get a better launch, it will be traveling forward more than you were, and will actually be able to form a decent attack down the outside. And given that they'll have momentum, they can maybe drive past you and sweep into such a corner. So I would say, yes, defensive posture, but just a subtle one. Let me jump over to the whiteboard and show you guys what I would like to see. So let's say you're the pole car over here. You don't need to like get there straight away, for example, because I think if for P2 car, if it gets a better launch, it can start to get a run and get momentum down into turn 1. So what I would say is it doesn't need to be, I'll just draw it in green, it doesn't need to be so aggressive. You can just make your way over time, and you can still control the situation from the inside. It's not a problem. It's just that you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and get there as quickly as possible. So I thought I'd just call that distinction. Like the purple would be something you would do in very short runs down to turn 1. And the green would be something you would do with long runs down to turn 1. The thing is, it's also really dirty down the inside. So your chances of losing the race lead off the start here are unlikely, but it was also dusty in Vegas as well. And, Max still got a decent launch there as well. So I would do just a little preset, and you've just got to optimize for the situation. That's all. So I hope that makes sense. Just keep that in mind. I thought Max's launch in the sprint was out of the screws. Amazing start from the clean side of the track, and pretty much immediately got past Fernando Alonso, who was on the dirty side. And like I say, I think Lando's going to be in deep, deep, deep trouble. He's got Oscar on pole for the race coming up tomorrow. Oscar on pole, Lando on the dirty P2. And unfortunately for him, it's Max in P3 on the clean side. So it's going to be clean side, great launch, Oscar's slipstream. These are all things that are going to come very naturally to Max. And with Lando, it's like dirty side. Lando, if he can get through turn 1 in P2, that's a massive win for Lando Norris. I have a feeling, though, Max is just going to go all in. I'm getting ahead of myself here thinking about the race, but I have a feeling Max is just going to send it. Inside, outside, brake, like it's going to be anyways a good way for Max. So yeah, keep an eye out for that tomorrow. Anyway, now in the early laps in the sprint, I have to take my hat off to Max because he was stuck with that setup that was bouncing. He was complaining yesterday, oh, bouncing, can't time the turn in. It's hard to time the turn in when the car's rhythm is not settled, because you want to turn in when the car is settled and you never find that moment. And he was stuck with that setup in the sprint race. Turn 10 was a big area that I was watching when Max was following Lando. All sorts of issues for Max in the opening laps. Lap 1, he had a big snap there, and you just see the car like slide. I'm like, geez, Max is really struggling. Lap 2, he tries to brake a little bit later. He goes deep on the brakes. Lap 4, I saw another shot. He tries a tight line. Unfortunately, doesn't get the rotation he wants with the tight line, and that is possible. So yeah, a lot of issues, a lot of struggles. I'll share them with you now, actually. Okay, so this was lap 1. Here's the mid-corner snap, and he's following Lando in the dirty air at this point. So it will always be a challenge. He is close. And this one, the rear lets go. So lap 2, I think he outbrakes himself here. Just slightly deep, and then runs wide as well. And there you can see he's just missed the apex. And then lap 4, he tries a tight line. To his credit, like, he doesn't go all the way to the edge of the track. He gets into this corner really nice and early, but then from the aero wash of the car in front, picks up understeer. Again, I like this from Max. This is where you can see drivers problem solving and trying to adapt and trying to play with their lines and play with their techniques. And at this point, I can say, like, hand on heart, he's in dirty air. The car's terrible. Like, he's stuck with that setup with the bouncing. And like, this is exactly what I want my drivers to be doing. Just try. You've got to be able to be like, okay, that didn't work. I'll try this. I'll try this. I'll try this. And so to see Max driving tight lines, I've always said on the channel, if Max could try and drive tight lines, he would be extremely dangerous racing driver, like even more than he already is. I think the first time we saw it was in Brazil last time out. And it's not a track that I feel like you're going to get maximum benefit from a tight line. You need a lot of long corners, like fast long corners, to be able to take full advantage of it. Places like Hungary, for example, even Silverstone, I think, because significant track width in Silverstone. So anyway, I'm getting off topic, but I just thought watching Max try that, I was like, yeah, he's all over it. Very smart and very awake, very aware racing driver as well. So good on Max. I think that's all you can really do in that sort of situation. A few other things to note just as we wrap up the sprint. Leclerc understeer at the square, the double apex 4 and 5 on lap 12. And Alonso off in the final corner. I think he lost the spot to Kimi Antonelli down the pitch straight. Other than that, it was a pretty uneventful race. And that is Qatar. It is like, it's so high speed with so much aero wash with the front tire pressures that we have. It's just really hard to follow. And that's why it was impressive to see Max like search for, like, try to find solutions to problems out there, which is all you can really do. But I think it was a bit of an uneventful race. And I think after lap 1, it might be uneventful tomorrow as well. Okay, let's jump over to qualifying. So Lewis Hamilton was kicked out again in Q1. Similar gap to yesterday, the 4/10. I'm not sure where this car is at this point, whether they changed it. What did they do for the sprint? Presumably trimmed wing out. What did they do for main quali? Maybe put it back in. I don't know. We'll have a look at the telemetry. But yeah, I'll show you guys an onboard as well, which I was kind of disappointed with Lewis. Is like, we're analyzing the onboard from Lewis with Karun on the SkyPad, and there's no changes on the steering wheel that are being made between turn 6 hairpin and turn 7 long corner of constant radius. And I'm like, you guys know my philosophy with the 7 technical corners. They're all different. They're all unique. They have all different requirements. the braking setup for a hairpin should be a very different braking setup and requirement for turn 7 LCCR. If you go back to like 2004, 2005, 2006, you watch an onboard of Michael Schumacher. His right hand just goes down. He's constantly playing with the manual lever for brake balance, corner to corner to corner. And that was Michael pretty much pushing the boundaries of like, hey, I'm optimizing my brake balance for each corner. And that, at that time, that was like really into the detail and revolutionary. I think he pushed the needle forward now where the drivers can change anything they want at any time they want on their fingertips. We're talking diff, engine braking, brake balance, brake migration, like, yeah, even diff at different phases of the corner, entry, mid, exit. There are so many things that can be changed. And like, so have a watch of that because that was cool. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you this is because Hamilton made 0 changes between the hairpin and the long corner of constant radius on his best lap in Q1. So let's have a look at it now. So here it is. Just watch the steering wheel is coming through the hairpin. He exits the hairpin. It's like nothing gets pressed and nothing flashes up. And like, I'm a bit disappointed to see that because I'm like, just change something, change anything at this point. Like, I don't know, put the brake balance forward, just do something to help your case. And like I said, my lens is not just on Lewis. The car's a dog and everything's not working this weekend. But like, just out of desperation, you saw the way Max was trying different things into turn 10 with his lines. The same thing with Lewis. Just at this point, just try. Anyway, so he gets kicked out of Q1 and no better off for it. Like, didn't learn anything for it. Let's jump over to Telemetry, see what we can find in terms of comparison with him and Leclerc. Alrighty, so it'll be these two. Hamilton in white, Leclerc in red. Let's take a look at that together. Hamilton in red, sorry. Oh, wow. Hamilton's so down. The first thing that flashes up to me, like before I even look at the delta, is have a look at the minimum speeds. Again, this is a huge story. So Leclerc in white through turn 1 has got 6 kilometers over Lewis. Through turn 2, a massive, like 12 kilometers. Through the double apex, Leclerc's carrying so much more apex speed. It's all over the track. Have a look here at the fast turn 15, I want to say the second last corner. Leclerc's got another 10 kilometers there. The biggest one through the square, actually. Leclerc with 13 kilometers in the middle of the square double apex. Wow. So I don't know, like, why is that? Leclerc able to throw the car at the corner and carry more speed through the corner. It looks like he has more downforce on the car. Like, if I didn't know, I mean, I don't know any better. It looks like he has more downforce on the car. I don't actually know whether that's true. Interestingly enough, there's a point here at which going in, and this is typical Lewis, going into turn 7, Hamilton goes up 2/10 and then loses it clean on the exit as well. And that's Hamilton hit like the entry exit trade-off. Lewis does dive into corners early and find all that time on the entry, but then can lose it on the exit. And that's, like I say, that's classic Lewis. But it is strange that there's a point at which he's ahead or at least equal in the hairpin. Yeah, they're pretty much equal, given that he's been slower. I'm trying to look at the speed of the car, like down the pit straight, for example. You've got Hamilton doing 325 and Leclerc 322. So that does suggest he's got a little bit, he's tried the opposite now. He's tried trimming the wing out potentially. Where else do you think we'd be able to see that as the cars pull out of 13 and they start shifting up with their foot flat? The delta's still falling away from Lewis. I guess the only thing it looks like there's a little bit less, a little bit less wing on the car in the first sector. And that makes sense because the rest of the track is painted white through all the high speed where you would want the downforce. So that's the only thing I can tell you is just the minimum speeds, and the speed that Charles can carry through the corner is definitely more significant than Lewis. The lap really got away from him through the increasing radius 10 and then the rest, all of the fast corners as well. So through the increasing radius of 10, Lewis lost more than 2/10 of a second, and that goes on to become 3 and then nearly 4 by the time the lap was over. So that's my insight for you guys with regards to the Lewis Leclerc situation. It looks like mid corner grip And I just see over the line, Lewis has got a few more kilometers here, suggesting slightly less downforce. Now, as we head over to the Q2, the struggles that the Ferrari was having was like in all places, in all areas, at all times. Like it was everything. Like we said, understeer in the square. I think he had that in the sprint race. Leclerc, this is. He had a mid-corner snap in turn 15 in Q2. Had rear locking into turn 6, the braking for the hairpin. This is what I said. The braking for the hairpin, such different requirements to the braking in the long corner of constant radius. For the hairpin, like it's very natural you would put the brake balance forward, for example. Anyway, I'll show that to you guys now. Here's the snap in turn 15 with Leclerc. And then I'll show you the braking. He does brake on the curb here, which can give a little bit of rear instability. You'll see it here, just with the right rear on the curb. That's possible. But it just looks like, again, the Ferrari is just a lemon out there. So, yeah, I say all that to say, even in the hands of Leclerc in Q2, I think he did get into Q3, by the way, which is a really good effort from Charles with this dog of a car. I thought Lando did a good job in Q2 to get through. He got his first lap time deleted, track limits on the entry to turn 10, increasing radius is just trying to get a bit more entry width to carry more speed and more minimum speed through turn 10, which is what you want to do. Gets his lap time deleted. Under pressure, delivers a lap right at the end to get through into Q3. That was crucial as well. So I call out for Lando for performing under pressure in Q2. Okay, let's talk about Q3 now. I think the first run from the McLaren drivers were, both of them were just bang, bang. They were both on it. They were separated by 300ths, I think, in their first runs. And I think it was great laps by both the drivers. But then as the track cooled a little bit, it cleaned up a little bit, in the second runs, that was always going to be where the final run was going to be everything put together. And Lando picks up a little bit of understeer in turn 2 and then aborts the lap. And I was like, you can't do that, because if you remember back to yesterday, Oscar had that little snap on the entry to turn 4. He still took sprint pole. So it's to say that you can still, your lap might not be perfect. You can still get pole. So the fact that he backed out of it at turn 2, I was like, just carry on. Maybe the fronts aren't up to temperature yet, but you'll get that grip later on in the lap or something. You just can't back out of a lap for a little bit of understeer. That's the first thing. But the second thing is it tells me Lando wasn't fully present in that lap, because if I jump over to the whiteboard turn 2, it's a fairly long corner and you do have plenty of warning and opportunity. Hey, the front's not quite going where I want to go. And you can make an adjustment at this point when you see you're a little bit wide. Get out of the throttle, pull another downshift, add a bit more lock. Like, you just got to kind of manage. I always talk about managing intra corner and being present and being aware of what's happening. So he would have been able to, if he was present, identify that understeer in the initial phase and then do something to rectify for it as well. So I guess two errors there, not recognizing it and solving for it, because it's a long corner, right? The snap that Leclerc had at turn 15, there's nothing you can do about that. That snap comes and goes so quickly, and all you can do is correct. The corner's done. Turn 2, understeer, something that gradually develops throughout the corner. Do you know what I mean? The sliding of the fronts. And if you're in tune, you'll feel it quickly and adjust for it. That's the first kind of piece of constructive criticism. The second is, mate, carry on. Push on, see what happens. You don't know if Oscar can do his lap or he makes a mistake on his lap as well. The fact that Lando didn't carry on was like, I think he felt like he was under pressure. He's like, I think in his mind it was like, this lap needs to be perfect. And I think when he got a bit of understeer at turn 2 and it wasn't perfect, his expectations versus reality, there was a disconnect. He was expecting perfection, got a bit of understeer in turn 2, and then therefore he wasn't happy with it and pulled out of it. So I think he was under pressure from Oscar. He knew it needed to be a perfect lap and it wasn't, and he pulled out of it. That was a mistake. It cost him pole. Oscar goes around and goes faster. And then it even put him at risk, I thought, for like Max or George to sneak in there as well. I thought it put him at risk. If the track improvement was such and the cars were close enough, yeah, Lando would have gone third, fourth, and, a few other drivers could have slotted in there. The advantage of the McLaren was such that didn't happen, and Lando's first run, like I say, was a very good run. Oscar made a few changes to the entry into turn 4. Very subtle changes, but very smart, very astute changes as well. Let me give you the context. Yesterday, Oscar took sprint pole, like I say, turned into turn 4 from a little bit wider. And I always say, when you go wider, you're asking more from the car. In qualifying, they should be able to do it, but Oscar had that snap in sprint qualifying yesterday. Still got pole, like I say. Today, he's just brought that line slightly, ever so slightly tighter, which is a little bit more conservative, asks less from the car, and goes through problem-free, trouble-free, and takes pole. So a good adjustment by Oscar. Very smart, very astute. Let me bring it up on the, I'll show you guys the picture now. So yesterday, you've got the sprint. He hasn't snapped the car at this point, but I just want you to see the left front is over this blue line here. And I've tried to take this at the same point in time, like same location, sorry, as where Oscar turns in from. So it was too wide, asking too much from the car, and it snapped. And the McLaren aero balance is such that it's very on the nose in the high speed. And so he gets the snap in this image, like literally a few milliseconds later. The adjustment that he's made, if you see, the left front is now just on the blue line. So it's a tighter line, ever so slightly, an adjustment. And Oscar goes through here trouble-free. Very smart, very classy adjustment there. And just means he could just go through and carry, and then, carry all the speed and go through trouble-free, like I say. So yeah, like I say, very good adjustment from Oscar there. And this is why I say, guys, line is so important, is because the line can also load up the car in different ways as well. So from the outside, you're putting more load as you sweep into this corner. And from the inside, you're a little bit more conservative. And so it puts the left front and left rear through a little bit less load on the initial turn in. And Oscar was able to get away with that. Very smart. All right, guys, like I alluded to earlier on in the video, the start is going to be key. And I think given that there's a significant track width and turn one is a long corner, Max is going to be attacking any direction he gets space. We'll always talk about space and grip being the two things you're searching for off the start. Max is going to go wherever there's space. If it's up the inside, he'll go there. If it's around the outside, he'll go there. And he's just going to send it one way or another. I have a feeling it's going to be around the outside. I have a feeling he's going to get it done, if I'm honest with you. Something tells me that, yeah, as we exit turns 1 and 2, the order will be Oscar, Max, Lando. Something tells me that's just what's going to happen. Max is going to get a good launch on the clean side, get Oscar's slipstream, drive around the outside of Lando at turn 1. There's a high probability of that happening. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below, but I think that's the way the situation will go. What can Lando do to avoid that situation? How much risk can he take? If he gets involved in a collision with Max, that's not good, because, then Oscar will go on to win. And then that's really not good. Yeah, we're looking at like full game on in Abu Dhabi. Lando doesn't want that. So it is in Lando's interests, in a way, with the 24-point lead, to just, if that happens, just let Max go and take P3. That's probably the way to the championship. As hard as that is to take and swallow, in terms of, your ego and you want to win, of course, that's only natural. I think at this point, it's like, if that happens, let them go and just cruise and collect another podium would be the advice to Lando. But let's see what happens, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys after the race tomorrow, and we'll debrief from there. Cheers.